Is Tableau the future of analytics?
But it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get more pervasive because this next version of Tableau, this new version of Tableau is
Mhm.
built in Salesforce.
Welcome to the Data Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Nisar Ahmed. Join me as we explore the inner data nerd inside all of us. Dive into the world of data alongside special guests who not only share their wealth of experience and knowledge, but also unveil what truly makes them data nerds. This podcast is brought to you by Business Intelligence. That's BIZNIS Intelligence. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Business Intelligence to stay up to date with Tableau training and the Data Nerd podcast. Connect with me on LinkedIn or stream the Data Nerd podcast across all major podcast platforms. Welcome to the Data Nerd podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Edward Beaurain to the show. Edward, welcome to the Data Nerd podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we met a few weeks ago at the Tableau event. There was a Salesforce World Tour in New York City, right? And so
Yep.
the night before, there was an event at the Information Lab, and so we actually caught up there. So it was nice to catch up. But that wasn't the first time we met. Do you remember
No,
the time?
I think we did chat about it. I think it was at the Philadelphia event. Is that where we had first met or no?
No, it was in Jersey City.
Oh, the Jersey City, yeah.
Jersey City.
You came and presented and talked about kind of your use of Tableau and all that. No, that was super early
Yeah.
on, especially 10 years of Tableau early on. A lot of nice events around the East Coast, up and down the Amtrak.
Yeah, that was the first year actually I used Tableau. I was very new to it, and that was like one of the first dashboards I created. So I talked about that. But I remember that event. That was actually the first time um it I started using Tableau, but I had experience prior to that in analytics, just not in the BI space. I was asked to give a presentation. I had never presented before. Very much an introvert, and I hated public speaking. Well, after I did that, I'll tell you what, that is the one thing that enabled me to start giving presentations, doing this podcast, and now I'm an instructor. After that experience, I was like, this is great. It's not that bad. And I
Yeah.
remember you were there to help support me, and you were hosting that event as well.
What was, I'd be interested to say, like your first, obviously your dashboard, but what was your kind of aha moment in building that where you realized, hey, this thing could have a really big impact for the organization?
It was the ability. So I loved art. I always loved art. I love the visual component. So personally speaking, the fact that I could make data look good and also tell a story was really like, oh, this is great. And I was working at a company at that time. It was a utility company on Long Island, and they had like no reports, or they had like Excel reports here and there. But I was able to like consolidate everything into one source and show it all in one view in Tableau, and that was this my aha moment. I was like, and the time it saved.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things going for it, and that's I kind of just fell in love with it, and then that was the beginning of my journey.
Yeah. And I know it's an exciting journey. And thanks for obviously doing this podcast and getting other people, folks who might be hearing about Tableau for the first time on this podcast and getting them into the data fam because it's such a supportive community.
Yeah. Um, well, that was and then I went to Tableau conference, and then that was just, I was like, okay, I'm sold. That's it.
Yeah.
This is it for me.
What was your first conference? Was it Austin,
Austin,
Vegas,
Austin.
Austin?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was the big outdoor party and
Yeah.
a ton of fun. So yeah, it's fun to go back to all those events.
When I rank all the conferences, so I've been to Austin, I've been to Vegas, New Orleans,
Yeah.
San Diego. I think out of all of them, I have to say the New Orleans party was amazing. That in the
Yeah.
football stadium, indoors,
Yeah.
kicking field goals on the field. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you can beat that. But the Austin one was pretty good as well.
The for the New Orleans one, and I think it was New Orleans because I remember taking a video of kind of the welcome reception and everyone coming in. And I think we just had kind of like the New Orleans vibe, just like the
Yeah.
music going, just truly a celebration. But it's such an upbeat manner of kind of all of our customers piling in to kick off the week. And it is a celebration, right? It's a celebration of people looking to make better decisions with data visually. or in whatever way, but it's about making data-driven decisions. Like
Yeah.
how it's never been a more important thing ever than it is right now and still back then. So it's super exciting.
And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Like why Tableau? Why should we choose Tableau
Yeah.
and AI and whatnot? And what does it have to offer? And what are the benefits? But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about you and who you are and your experience, right? Um, so do you want to introduce yourself? I think you'll do a better job than me.
Yeah. No, so I've been with Tableau for 10 years. I'm actually approaching my 10-year anniversary here in January. And prior to Tableau, I was in a sales development program at Nestle, so a large food company. Really always been focused in sales. I sold Cutco knives growing up. So if anyone out there owns Cutco knives, best knives out there. And you can always return them, by the way, for free sharpening. So just if you own them, you don't need a receipt. It's a family heirloom. You can pass it down. See, I'm always selling. Um, and then I spent my time with Nestle, and I was in sales. But what was really interesting is I moved into an analyst role when I moved to Denver, supporting our hot and lean pockets business. And that's when I discovered Excel, and that's when I started discovering the power of making better decisions with data through the complex types of calculations and formulas that you can go ahead and do. And I was really, really bad at first. And then I just became absolutely addicted to this concept of building quote unquote dashboards and helping really provide important resourcing for our organization as we went through SKU optimization or really all the product and pricing and packaging and all those things that you do. And so that's really what lit my flame for analytics. Didn't know a thing like Tableau existed. In fact, you fast forward kind of my fourth year with Nestle when I was living in DC. I was invited to a happy hour to learn about Tableau for the first time, and that's the first time I knew that a technology like this existed that I wasn't being given to do in my job, which would have made me much more effective. So first, I was a little bit disappointed in my current organization not providing me this, and
Mm.
then I said, "Hey, we can go ahead and do this and build it." It was funny. The next day, I was in a Nestle meeting where Tableau was showcased. I was like, "It's a sign. It's a sign. I'm going to go build this thing." And so I helped open up our DC office, was a frontline manager there, moved up through different roles of leadership, really built up that office to about 200 or so folks, became a powerhouse office for initial Tableau prior to the acquisition, but post IPO. When the acquisition happened approximately 5 years ago, I was tapped to lead and support on the integration side of the house. So really getting close to Salesforce and understanding how you bring kind of these two parties together, help build out kind of new organizations within Tableau, within the sales realm of it. And now I lead approximately about 50 folks across our enterprise corporate sales team across the Americas. So imagine all of our enterprise customers, more of those departmental use cases. That's what I really equip my team to go out there and solve, which has been fun because I've seen small businesses, commercial businesses, enterprise businesses. And what's interesting is people are solving similar problems. How do I make better decisions with data? How do I hopefully not put a cross tab in the browser and call it analytics, but really go ahead and unlock people's ability to be engaged and take advantage of the technology? And we're super excited with what we're doing, right? Acquisitions don't come without change. But having seen pre and post, I couldn't be more excited and bullish in terms of where the organization is going, especially in this next era of AI and Salesforce and the relevance of that data set and how Tableau is going to play into that.
Yeah, and we talked about this in person a few weeks ago about like how what what place does Tableau hold in Salesforce and what are the benefits, right? Like so
Yeah.
Salesforce acquired Tableau, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. About 5 years ago. Yep.
5 years
A little
ago.
over, I think.
And since then, obviously, being acquired by Salesforce, so you're gonna have some, Salesforce um influence on Tableau. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when we talked about it, some people, so I'll be honest here, some people think that there aren't benefits to it, and they would rather just beat Tableau on its own. But there's also this other side where, Salesforce is such a giant company, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much that they can offer that Tableau can benefit from, right? And now with the advancement of AI, right, Tableau is really getting in the forefront of things, right? So my question for you is like how has Salesforce acquisition of Tableau enhanced the AI capabilities of Tableau? particularly when it comes to, use of Einstein.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always interesting firsthand seeing and experiencing this acquisition, 5 years in, and it takes time. It takes time, obviously, for the engineering organization and for all these things to align. And you think about Salesforce, not only acquiring Tableau, prior to that, acquiring MuleSoft, after that, acquiring Slack. But what's interesting is now when you look at Salesforce and the Customer 360 and the use of agents and the amount of data that you have, whether it's unstructured in Slack, your sales, service, marketing, commerce clouds, or any of the data sources that Tableau can connect to and bring in, you're really providing this kind of cohesive, trusted way to put your LLMs to work against these qualitative and quantitative fields to create better customer experiences. And instead of kind of and breed disparate technologies all over the place. The beauty of Salesforce, it's all built on Hyperforce. It's all built in the same place. You have all of the metadata, all of the security, all of those aspects built in. And again, I want to think about Tableau.
Mm,
Tableau's job is to obviously visualize data.
yeah.
And the value of that data, data is the new oil, as Francois would say. It's
Mm,
the air we breathe, it's the water we drink. It continues to be the thing that's most critical. What's a more critical data set than customer data? And who's the leader when it comes to customer data? And that's Salesforce. So when
yes.
we look at kind of this next version of Tableau, and it was kind of shared at Dreamforce in terms of Tableau Einstein, which you would get via Tableau Plus, but this idea of Tableau built-in data cloud, taking advantage of the semantic model, taking advantage of all of these workflows, not about seeing and understanding, but it's about seeing, understanding, and taking action. And I think that's the next phase that we're in here. And just to hit on the AI piece, and again, obviously, there's a ton of interest in. We're starting to kind of see a more clearer picture about of the monetization of AI, right? And if you listen to our most recent earnings call, obviously this idea of agents is is the evolution from kind of co-pilots. And where Tableau plays a really interesting role is where you start taking the metadata from Tableau. Maybe it's a pulse metric, and it's the metadata that makes up that visual. And you start putting that into, say, something like a vector database that the LLMs can go ahead and query and use. LLMs are not good at math. Tableau will make it, help it become good at math. And we see really AI powered by Tableau, this agentic experience powered by Tableau. So that's super relevant. And that doesn't even include the amazing things that you can do with a basic Tableau server deployment, your Tableau desktop license, Tableau prep, all of those things that the community could take that and say that alone is worth the money and all these things that are happening. So we're pretty bullish on it.
So that's all great, and like you said, Tableau has a lot to offer. But what really, so if you're a competitor of Tableau, and I'm not going to name names, there are a lot of competitors out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, how does Tableau differentiate itself from its competitors, or do they offer the same thing?
No, I mean, I think obviously when you look at the big market opportunity that Tableau has, it's to really go after the Salesforce customer base, right? That's a big untapped market opportunity. When you look at the Tableau community and the folks that are betting their skill set on Tableau, and you look at the criticality of Salesforce and that data, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Commerce Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and those things, and you pair that up, the secret sauce obviously is if you're a Salesforce customer, yeah, it's a no-brainer that you should be moving forward with Tableau.
Hmm.
Now, when you go ahead and say, hey, I'm not necessarily a Salesforce customer, when we look at things like Tableau Pulse, Tableau Agent, and the innovation that's happening with Tableau Cloud, you back that up with the thing that really is going to be challenging for anyone to go ahead and mirror, which we're incredibly grateful for, and we have to nurture and cultivate in terms of the data fam. That alone is a massive differentiator. So you look at things like that, and you can look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and there might be, ThoughtSpot's good at this, or Looker's great if you're, a Google customer, or Power BI if you're a Microsoft customer, or there's all these different things. At this point, obviously, the Salesforce aspect of Tableau, the data source that it connects it to, the investments that we're getting from all that entire engineering organization and all of those, plus the data fam, plus the visual nature in our technology. I mean, for 20 years, we've been doing this. We
Hmm.
develop fonts. We're not doing analytics because we're trying to drive compute off a database. We created Tableau out of Stanford to help people make better decisions with data. That's still there. There's still a lot to work to be done, and we're always listening. But I don't know if that's a great pitch. There's a lot of factors, but I say that because you don't have to be a Salesforce. You could just literally be someone who loves Tableau Desktop, publishing out your dashboards to Tableau Server, but you live in a place where you can take advantage of a 24/7 community powered by people like yourself, powered by Tableau Tim or Andy Kriebel or all
Yeah.
these individuals that are making this special. Like that all has financial meaning to the skill set that's being developed and the motivation to learn. All of those things matter.
Yeah, and it's really the Tableau community that you see out there when it comes, when you see videos or you're on LinkedIn and stuff. Like for the most part, it's the Tableau community that's
Yeah.
talking about, the software and training and the use of Tableau. Um, you can't downplay the importance of the community for that reason, right?
Yeah.
And you see that in full effect at Tableau conference, right? So you're hosting, you hosted. So for those of you who may recognize the face, if you've been to Tableau conference, you saw Edward there, kind of hosting and talking about all of the sessions and what's coming out during the conference. So it's great to see you there, and hopefully you get to see you again there again next year in San Diego, right?
That's
April?
it. Yeah. Back in San Diego again, which is a beautiful venue. Truly a beautiful venue. It's kind of along the waterfront and right there in a beautiful area. And I think what's really exciting, it almost feels like a bit like a developer conference, right? I just love people at capacity seeing kind of the technical chops of what people can do with this technology, the extensibility that we're seeing with Tableau. Just imagine with Viz extensions what we're going to go ahead and see next year in terms of the things that people are putting together. But when you look at the world, and one of the reasons I'm here and I've been here for 10 years is, and I got two young kids, and I think there's never been a more important time for people to make fact-based decisions based on data, right? And I
Mm.
get to work for a company that has built its value and brand off of that exact thing. And when you have a community that is motivated and engaged to work with each other to continue to do that with this technology, now, that doesn't mean we don't have to fight every single day to say, hey, Tableau versus X or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you're making better decisions with data, like that's the avenue I want to be on moving forward.
Yeah, I've noticed that. So it's great that Tableau's coming out. So we talked about AI, right? So when it comes to AI, you have Tableau Agent, you have Tableau Pulse, um, and a lot of new things are coming out. There's also a lot of rebranding happening, right? But I
Yeah.
think that is due to, you want to be ahead of the curve, not not fall behind, right? This is where everyone's moving towards, and you want to be first. And I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't work for Tableau, but
Yeah.
you do, and I feel, is that sentiment true that Tableau really wants to push this out faster than anyone else when it comes to their AI capabilities?
Yeah. I mean, I think you look at what Ryan is doing as our CEO. When you look at the engineering leadership team and what as this thing has evolved, right? As people have either moved on and things have snapped a little bit more into the Salesforce ecosystem, but you start to get exposure in terms of the individuals like Steve Fisher. If you just go ahead and look at him on LinkedIn and you see what he's done with the technology at the companies that he's worked for, we just think that there's a massive market opportunity and you couldn't go fast enough to take advantage of this next chapter. You obviously want to do it incredibly well. And yeah, we're pouring our resources and investments to take advantage of this inflection in the market and this opportunity. And we're really excited about the work that's being done. Um, there's so much communication in terms of like names and those things. It's very simple. We have Tableau Server, we have Tableau Cloud. Tableau Server, we have our standard licensing, we have our enterprise licensing, which includes advanced management and data management. For our cloud licenses, we have standard, enterprise, and plus. Plus is your gateway to take advantage of the future of Tableau, which is Tableau Einstein built on Salesforce. So I think that to simplify it. But at the end of the day, it's things like Tableau Desktop, Tableau Prep, and those elements which are critical. And then obviously when you go into Tableau Cloud with the browser, this Tableau agent experience, right? The opportunity to go ahead and ask a question where it builds an accurate LOD calculation to give you the answer without necessarily having the skill set to do that,
Hmm.
all backed by also just kind of all of the data that's available. It's really exciting things in terms of what's going to be possible.
Yeah, and that was my takeaway from this is like it's kind of like a built-in Google for Tableau, right? Like who's better to ask than the expert themselves? Ask Tableau how to do it rather than
Yeah,
doing a Google search. Yeah, you could find it on Google, but it takes some time, you go through the forums and whatnot, and those are all great resources that you
yeah,
can still use. But I think this kind of takes it a different take on it, right?
yeah.
Um, my feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this is a benefit more so for the new users or people who are getting into Tableau who may not know how to start up. For people like me who have already have the experience, I know like how to build a chart. I don't need Tableau to tell me or
Yeah.
Copilot or agent, right? Is that kind of who you're trying to target here? Are the new users or the inexperienced users or
I think what's
developers?
interesting, yeah, I mean, I think what's always interesting with new technology is there's obviously a premise in which it was initially built, and then you kind of find out how it's actually being used. So it'll be fun to see at Tableau conference, like how have you been using Pulse thus far and Tableau Agent? I think what's always interesting is there's the data savvy, the data hungry, an individual like yourself that might even take a data set, download it into Tableau desktop, do your ad hoc analysis, do those calculations, and
Mm,
figure out what the answer is. And you have the technology and the skill set to go ahead and do that. I think there's a long tail of business users, right? And that long tail of business users might not necessarily be willing to engage. Or when you think about Tableau Agent, it's that ad hoc curiosity of asking an additional question without having to go back to an analyst to answer that question, losing that time. It's kind of that waterfall process that you would have to go through. With
mm.
Tableau Agent, you might have a dashboard, go into the editing, click on Einstein, open up a new tab and say, hey, can you show me the overall sales for the month of February for the state of Texas? They wouldn't necessarily be able to go ahead and do that, understanding kind of the Tableau filters and rows and columns, but they can do that as an explorer with Tableau Agent, and that saves a lot of time. And by the way, that's going to spark curiosity. That's going to spark someone's interest of like, if I could do that, show me that on a map. Oh my goodness, what does that map look like? Could I do that? So we're going to hopefully like in a perfect world, everyone's a creator, right? But that's not necessarily the case. So I think that's the idea of what we're doing for Agent and Pulse is that long tail of business users. How do we get them to make sure that they're leveraging data to make better decisions to support that analyst community that's building out these critical metrics and dashboards?
Yeah, when I think about how I'm going to use it, I think I would also use it in that way. Like answer like why am I trending downwards? Like let me ask and
Yeah,
get the answer, right? It's like quick and easy. Right? Why do it myself when I have this AI agent to provide me with the answer? And
yeah,
so even for people like who are experienced or who build the dashboards or developers, it's a great tool. And when it comes to a technical standpoint, like how many times have you built a dashboard and you've created whatever complex calculations and you go back like 3 months later, you forgot how you did it and you need to do it again. Instead of doing a Google search, like use the tool. Like it happens no matter how proficient you are with Tableau. Um, you know, your memory is only can only hold so much, right?
yeah,
And you forget
yeah.
things. And I think that's beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, why not have an accelerant companion? I mean, it's kind of that co-pilot kind of,
Yeah.
discussion, but if you're good, it's only going to make you better. And if you're brand new, it's going to get you introduced. Either way, you're building momentum in the right direction of being hungry and curious to take rows and columns of qualitative and quantitative information to make better decisions for it, whether it's for yourself or for your team. That to me is a really good equation to invest in because also you're unlocking the engagement of your people, which is the most valuable thing in all of this, is people wanting to know more and ask more questions and do that. So we're really excited about what that's going to unlock for businesses, for all types of organizations.
So let me ask you this. This is on the cloud, right? All of these AI features on
Yes.
Tableau Cloud. What if you're somebody who wants to get or try these features and you don't have cloud? Is there a way to do that?
Well, I mean, you can always download a trial of Tableau Cloud. So that's something that you can go ahead and do. And it's important to understand, obviously, the ability for the technology to physically do what it's doing, it being on Tableau Cloud is a critical part of it. So you can always download a trial and test that out. And that would be our recommendation. But you're right. Things like Tableau Pulse, Tableau Agent, They're not available on Tableau Server. That being said, our Tableau Server business continues to be very healthy. People might say, I want this thing on-prem. I am focused and based on, whatever constraints you have in a regulated industry.
Mm.
And you and I both know that, and we've seen the best of the best do it. And you see Iron Viz, like you can still take Tableau desktop and a dashboard through Tableau Server. You can still make that incredibly innovative and powerful and leverage a lot of the machine learning that's available, Viz extensions. There's still tons of innovation that's happening there. We just, as a company, spend more time talking about Tableau Cloud, especially with Tableau Plus, which is the movement towards Tableau Einstein built on Salesforce. So I think that's just kind of sometimes you experience this thing like we're moving away from it. We're not. Companies continue to invest in Tableau Server and love it. Or they might have a small deployment of Tableau Cloud. A lot of companies are obviously moving to Tableau Cloud because they see the value of this innovation and they're confident that we can provide this in a scalable and secure way. And Salesforce also helps build that confidence and trust based on things like Hyperforce and all of that movement towards there.
Yeah, yeah. So based on what I'm hearing is it's like Tableau server is not going anywhere. The
Right.
on-prem, right? It's it's this is just an additional tool that people can leverage to depending on their needs,
Yeah.
right? Um, can you share? So obviously you lead a sales team, right? And you work with a lot of different customers. Do you have any success stories so far as it pertains to using Tableau and AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's super exciting right now is, at least initially, is Tableau Pulse. When we're starting to kind of see these key metrics getting built out, and this idea of this long tail of business users that were never willing to engage with the dashboard, engaging with metrics built there, which is giving them the ability to go ahead and surface up their key KPIs across the masses to make better decisions. That's a huge win that just wasn't necessarily being achieved with the use of the standard Tableau dashboard. Tableau Agent has just come out, right? So we're just starting to go ahead and experience some of the interesting examples. If you look at the Tableau Dreamforce keynote, in there, you have a great example with Anya Ahern and kind of how they're using that within her organization. So I think we're starting to kind of see kind of these next phases and these exciting wins. And then with this agent experience with Salesforce, we're also seeing Tableau playing a critical role in the success of those agents when it comes to data and making sure that those LLMs are successful with the data that is being pulled. And that's kind of the most recent innovation, especially in this kind of agent world where Tableau is playing a critical role in it as well. And it's different because that one is like less about the visual and it's more about the metadata that powers the visual, that itself playing a really interesting role. So we're seeing it kind of left and right, and we're excited to go ahead and share more for sure at Tableau Conference and through obviously the countless webinars and customer examples that we hopefully broadcast throughout the year.
That's great. I just remembered I forgot to ask you a question. I usually start my podcast. This is the Data Nerd podcast, and I ask all my guests this question in the beginning. We just jumped right into it. We were
Yeah.
was like excited to talk about this, but I do ask all my guests this question. And I'd like to ask it to you now, since I didn't get to in the beginning. Is and you talked about how you got into data or whatnot. But my question to you is, are you a data nerd? And if so, tell me a time or tell me your story when you realized you were a data nerd. And this doesn't have to be a professional story or anything. It could just be like for me, it was when I was growing up. I would read the newspaper and look at all the sports stats, the baseball stats, look at the league leaders and games behind and percentages, and really like analyze that. And at that time, and that's when I realized, yes, I love data because I love my hobby sports. I love following sports, and there's so much data in sports, and that's kind of got me hooked onto data, and realized I was a data nerd. That's my story. What's your
Yeah.
story?
It's a good question. So I don't know if it necessarily is anything at an early age, but I would give the story that I think made me realize how important making decisions with data is actually wasn't it's quite recent in terms of my life. But I would say initially when I joined Tableau, I continued to have myself in conversations where I was talking more about the input of data than what the data was telling me, right? We live in Salesforce reporting back then and those things. So it was more so of, hey, what's the next step? What's the stage? The more of kind of like the data input than the discussion that would happen based on the data that is telling us average age, sales cycle, all of those things. And so what that led to is me building an initial dashboard connected to Alpo, which Alpo was kind of our database that we use. We like to eat our own dog food, which is interesting because I used to work at Nestle,
Mm.
and we sold Alpo. Now, Alpo is not your top tier dog food. I would say that, Beneful or one of those things are. But that would be the example right there where I would continue to iterate and I started providing that to different folks within my organization and they wanted more and more and more. And then it became one of the most used dashboards in the company. And then it got provided over to our sales strategy team, which ended up taking it global. It's called the Business Summary Workbook. And I say that it's an important story because it was the
Mm.
biggest just explosion of the use of data in my life. But it was built off of a genuine curiosity of a sales leader who felt something could be done better. And that happened. By the way, I don't know if you're hearing this banging. It's my child trying to
I
get
no,
into
I don't hear it.
literally every time, just bang, bang, bang. But I gotta just turn on Tableau desktop for them and just let them kind of have fun with that. But no, that's the story. And what was so powerful about that was the iterations and the amount of people that were coming in my direction asking for more tweaks.
Mhm.
And that was to me was like, holy smokes, this thing is powerful because it's changing how they work. And they started living in this document, this dashboard. And to me, that was kind of like, I'm a data nerd. This is amazing.
Yeah. You talked about the tweaks, right? So I teach a data analytics course, maybe 10-week certificate courses, right? And part of that course is Tableau. When I talk about the process of building dashboards, one of them is the phase where you present it to your stakeholders, and then they come back with and say, "Oh, I want to change this, I want to tweak that." A lot of times people may think that it's a negative thing. And if they want to change something that you didn't do something right. But I tell my students that that's perfectly normal and actually is a good thing because it means that they want to use it and they just have a different perspective or maybe different needs that you didn't think about. And the fact that they want to tweak your dashboard means that like they're interested in it. If they said, no, this looks good, let's put it out there, maybe they just are not interested in it anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think anything that elicits indifference is terrible. Genuine curiosity is great. Genuine curiosity means that they care, they have questions, it's pertinent to their business, and they want to engage and they want to learn more. And that means what you're doing is relevant, and you should be super fired up about that.
Yeah, no, of course. Um, all right, I got one more question for you. So, um, what's your vision for how Tableau and AI will continue to shape the future of analytics in years to come? Like, and I'm not telling you to give up any secrets or inside knowledge or anything like that that you may not be able to share, but just from your own personal opinion, where is Tableau going here? What's the future?
Yeah. Um, Everyone's going to have access to Tableau. Everyone's going to be able to go ahead and when it comes down to all of the local applications that you look at on your computer to go ahead and use to make decisions with data. I live in a world where everyone has that Tableau icon and they pop that up and they connect it to data and they make not only better decisions, they're curious, they ask questions, and they analyze every single aspect of their personal, professional life. They getting, it's just we kids are learning with Tableau and those things. And whether it's Tableau, it's really the question of like being curious about data and making decisions based on the past to dictate the future and doing it based on rows and columns of information. And Tableau, obviously, in its visual nature, in its intuitive nature, backed by such an incredible community that, by the way, is only growing. If you look at all the user groups that
Hmm.
are starting to develop, more and more user groups, virtual, in person, um, people that are experiencing this for the first time. That's what I've been here for 10 years. Tableau's been around for 22 plus years. There's someone today, right now, that's probably downloading this for the first time and saying, what the heck is this? This is incredible, right? And
Yeah.
so that feeling for everyone, just in a very, very basic nature, every Salesforce customer is going to be a Tableau customer. They're going to make the most of their Salesforce investment by having Tableau to go ahead and visualize all of the rich data within Slack, within their sales, service, marketing, commerce instances. It's going to be infused in every workflow. And I say that because if you're a member of the data fam and you want to take your career to the next level, immerse yourself in data cloud, immerse yourself in this trailblazer economy and opportunity. And you might not necessarily, it's different than the data fam 100%, but you look at our data blazer group, which is kind of the group behind data cloud and those things. You bring that to the data fam, you got the most powerful database community and data cloud, and
Mm.
then you have the most powerful analytics community. I tell you what, you're going to get together, you're going to be like, we really like each other and we could really work together. And I think that continuation and that investment is going to be incredibly powerful. And who knows where obviously this AI journey is going to take us. I think we see that with Tableau Agent. Tableau is going to be infused in those experiences so that we make sure that those insights that it feeds up is mathematically accurate, and it uses kind of the incredible power that Tableau has. But Tableau at its foundation is to help people see and understand data. That's what Christian and Pat and Chris Stolte and their mission, the early founders' mission, was coming out of Stanford with their DoD project. It was the idea of taking the RenderMan technology that was used to bring Buzz and Woody and the Toy Story experience to life, right through that experience, and bringing that together and making it available. And that foundation, those fundamentals have not changed. There's still people making
Mm.
decisions with massive crosstabs and saying, that's how I need to do it. It's
Yeah.
visual in nature. There's a reason it's an orange to green color gradient that we use, because it's a colorblind friendly color gradient, right? It's that attention to detail that matters to make data accessible for all. And that's where we're going, and that's where we're going to continue to invest. And we need our data fam. Continue to invest in Tableau, continue to fight for Tableau within your organizations, and continue to find and surface those $1 million problems that you're solving for your organization, those incredible problems that you're solving for yourself, and those things. And we're super grateful and excited to be along this journey with all of you.
Yeah. I remember when there was another event, not the one that I spoke at, but there was a New York City event years ago. And you were hosting that one as well. And you mentioned something that I still think about to this day. And you talked about, you goes, in this area, I think we were at the Javits Center or somewhere close by. You're like, within a certain mile radius of this area, you looked up all the job descriptions for
Yeah.
for analytics. And Tableau is in still number one. Okay. And compared to any other tool to this day, I don't know, do you know Dustin Shimek?
I do know the name. Yeah.
Okay.
He
So
posts the
he,
jobs, I think, right? Does he,
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
he, yeah.
He posts jobs on LinkedIn. He's also a Tableau ambassador as well. So he comes up, he has his data careers conference. And he does an analysis each time where he analyzes all the job postings that he has in his database or he publicizes or posts on his feed. And he gets to top skill sets, top 10. Okay. Tableau is not number one because SQL is up there.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, I think we all know like SQL is a language that's not going anywhere. And regardless of what tool you're using, you probably need to know SQL. But right after that was Tableau, still to this day, right? And people are saying, what's the future of Tableau? What about the competitors? It- but you still look at like the job postings, and Tableau is still listed more often than any other skill and tool out there. And I'm not just talking about in BI. I'm talking about like just for analytics jobs in general.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite search when I meet with customers is there's the TCO aspect of Tableau, and it's everything. It's not just the licensing. It's also the human capital that you're taking and maximizing by giving them a technology that's unlimited and powered by the number one community, where we're developing and training people in universities with this skill set, that we have user groups in probably every key city that's available. A 24/7 global community that can help you ask and answer questions to go ahead and continue to motivate you. Oh, and by the way, the job's incredibly in demand. Indeed.com/Tableau keyword search for your postal code. Do it. Tableau, Power BI, click, whatever. Go on down and see. And it's not something that we should take for granted, and we're not. We're going to continue to invest in it. And I think if I were a Tableau analyst and I said, man, I'm being forced to learn Power BI, or or learn DAX or do those things, I'm not enjoying myself as much as using Tableau, then fight the good fight and go to your senior leadership and say, look, if you want to maximize me, I need Tableau. And I did an interview that I have on Salesforce Plus at Tableau conference, and the individual pretty much she called her shot. She just said, like, if you're not going to give me Tableau, I'm going to go elsewhere. Now I get it. The economy's tight. A lot of us aren't willing to stick our neck out there and do those things, but you can also show them through the use of your technology what can be done with this and how it can transform and show the business value of an investment like Tableau. But it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get more pervasive because this next version of Tableau, this new version of Tableau is
Mhm.
built in Salesforce. It's built on Data Cloud, and you're going to unlock a whole different audience for the first time to this technology while maintaining folks that are still using Tableau Server, still using Tableau Cloud. So if you're again thinking about investing your time, whether you're in consulting, continue to bet on this horse, continue to invest your time, continue to push us to make us better, betting on people like Ryan Ate, betting on our engineering organization, but most importantly, truly betting on the community,
Yeah.
right? Like even if Tableau stayed the exact way that it was and all we had was a community, I would say we'd be a competitive force for many years to come. That's not happening. We're innovating in a very significant way. We're excited about it.
Yeah. What if you're not a Salesforce customer? Can you still benefit?
You should be benefiting from it right now. I mean, think about all of our customers right now. A majority of them are not Salesforce customers, and they're benefiting immensely from it.
Yeah.
It is important to know most likely there's an aspect of your organization that is most likely using Salesforce, considering the value that it has within the CRM space, but it is not one of those things that is necessary to have. But it does accelerate kind of the integration. You could also have Slack, but not
Yeah.
Salesforce,
Yeah.
right? You could have MuleSoft, but not Salesforce. But even without any of that, we work very well independently. And I think when you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant and the reviews in terms of why Salesforce does or Tableau does so well is we're data agnostic. Public cloud, any type of data source, whatever you have, we're going to help you connect to it, visualize it, and make better decisions based on it.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is great, Edward. What's how can people connect with you? Can they connect with you on LinkedIn? Is that the best way to
Yeah,
reach? Okay.
yeah, connect on LinkedIn. Let me know how I can help. Let me know how our team can support you. And I always say to customers, put me to work on your behalf to solve your most important problems with data. Um, been here for 10 years. Company's been around for 20 some years. We've used Salesforce, so we have a long list of successes across every vertical and department. Tell us what you need to solve, and we're going to help you solve for it.
Perfect. And then a little bit off topic, but I do want to talk about this because we were talking about sports when we met a few weeks ago, and we were talking. You're a Washington Capitals fan now, right?
New Washington Capitals fan. I moved from Penguins to
Penguins.
Capitals and Washington
Oh,
sports. It was good timing looking back on it.
but those two teams are rivals, right?
It's purely based on the fact that I have young children and would like to bring them in an arena where we're all rooting for the same team that has a lot of home games versus having to like teach them to root for a very
Yeah,
specific
I
team
get it.
once a year. That was kind of the simplicity of life. And just also, you go into your, sporting goods store, you want to have access to the gear.
Listen, man, in this day and age, you could buy anything online. Look, I'm still a
Yeah,
Montreal right here.
I love it.
Canadians. I am living in New York, but I got New
I
York
love it.
represented right here too. So
There you go. You get it
best of
all.
both worlds, right? Ovechkin got injured. He was going to break the record this year, Wayne Gretzky's goal record, but
Yeah.
I think that's going to be hard to do this year. But I have confidence that he'll still do it in time.
Yeah. The cool thing is the team's still doing great things without him and kind of rallying and winning.
Yeah,
So it'll be fun to see, and it'll be good to have him back. It's fun. Anyone like I was telling my dad I turned to a Capitals fan. He's like, what are you talking about? It's mainly just I like my kids rooting for the local teams. That's it. Go Commanders, go Nationals, go Wizards. It's a rebuild year. Go Capitals. Let's go.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. So if I don't meet you before Tableau conference, looking forward to seeing you again, and we'll talk again. And I appreciate you
Awesome.
being on.
Thank you so much, and thanks to the entire community. Let's keep going.